Hi, this is for my friends and family who are interested in making masks, N95 replacement masks specifically. These are ones that have a pouch in them so that you can put an additional filter in them. They also have a wire at the top. Here's the top part. They have a wire at the top for the nose, and then they have a filter hold area to hold. So let's get started. You're going to need two kinds of fabrics. You're going to want a front fabric and a back fabric. The front fabric, you're going to cut, pay attention to the direction. So mine is directional. So I'm going to cut this at 6 inches. So I have my 6-inch piece for my front fabric. Then you're going to also want to cut, let me move this down just a little bit. Then you're going to want to cut your back piece. So this is my back fabric for this particular mask. And I'm going to want to cut a 6-inch piece. And then I'm going to want to cut an 8-inch piece, which would be at 14 here. Okay, so I have 6-inch, 8-inch. Okay, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to then want to lay this down, and we're going to cut these at 9 inches. So I lay my seam down because I'm going to cut that off where it's folded from the manufacturer. So I don't cut the cord. I set all my stuff up in a consolidated spot here so that I can have everything at the ready for the videoing. Okay. So lay that down. Now we're going to first cut the little edges off, seams off. My little folded pieces. I'm going to cut those off. Just trash them on the side there for now. And then cut at 9 inches. 9 inches. Sorry if you can't see my face. And you should be able to get 4 masks if you have it the length of what you get it off the bolt. You can get 4 masks out of this. Okay. Okay, so now you're going to press. Now you're going to press it. Okay. Here's my directional fabric. I want to lay it down. Fabric right side up. So it's looking at me. Okay. Then I'm going to take my 6x9 piece and I'm going to fold it wrong sides together. So my right side is up. Okay. Length 9 inches. Fold the 6-inch part in half. Then I'm going to place that on the bottom. Okay. Then I'm going to take my 8x9 piece and I'm going to fold that wrong sides together so my right sides are out and fold on the 8-inch side. Okay. And my pressed edges are going in the middle here. Raw edges are going out. Okay. Out on the raw edge there. Then you're going to need 2 7-inch elastics. Turn it back over here. You need 2 7-inch elastics. So let me cut my elastic. That's 7 inches. And you can vary this length. Standard mask is 7 inches. I've made some that have been smaller, some that have been larger, just depending on personal needs. My husband has a larger head, so he needed a little bit bigger elastic, but most of mine I make at this standard size. The ones I donate are at the standard size of 7. Okay, so we're going to pin this in between these two fabrics here. Let's see if I can read this. in between the two fabrics. Okay, so we've got our right sides together of our fabrics. We've got our elastic going at a 45-degree angle at the corner. Okay, and we're going to pin those together. We want our big side on top. So this is at the top, this is the bottom. I want my fatter piece on top. I want my skinnier piece on the bottom, okay? Then I'm going to pin this piece of elastic down in this corner. And then I'm going to also pin my little flap opening. Okay, do it again on this side. 45-degree angle. Lay the corner down. Pin. Pin. And then make sure your elastic is laying flat when you curve it. Don't want to have a twist in your elastic there. And then pin that into place. And then I pin my little flap down. Okay, so this is what we end up with right now. Okay, now we're going to go to the sewing machine. And I start in this upper corner. This is my larger portion. I start on this upper seam first because I need to make sure that this is wide enough to be able to fit my elastic in. I have a tendency to hug my edge with my foot. So if I start up here, I know that I am conscious of making this a little bit wider to make sure my wire will fit in here. Let's go to the sewing machine. Alright, so let's lay this down. And this is what I have, how I have it set up. So my little first line here is my 1/4 inch. But as I go around, I have a tendency to hug this foot area. And so I just want to make sure that this front edge has got enough space for a wire. So let's go ahead and stitch all the way around. Make sure and back stitch. Slow down at your needles, at your pins, because if you're like me, I don't take my pins out, and I have a tendency to, if you slow down, you can kind of get over them pretty easily. On rare occasions, I hit them, but if you go slow enough, usually you can miss them. Make sure that little flap doesn't get bunched up. And then back stitch at your end. Clip off your threads and take out your needles. Okay, so this is what we ended up with. This is our pouch that we have. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to fit our wire in here. The wire that I use is this wire. It's 20 gauge floral wire. It's got a green coating on it that helps it to not rust. But there's multiple things you can use. I've heard of twist ties on bread. I've heard of, you can use this floral wire and kind of double it up, kind of twist it together. You can use a paper clip that's stretched out. It's a little bit harder to bend and work with, but in a bind, you can certainly use those. You can use, what are these? Pipe cleaner. You can use a pipe cleaner. just cut it down to 5 inches. So I need a little 5-inch piece of wire. Let me go ahead and get that cut. I use my little wire cutters here, and I have my ruler, and I measure it at 5 inches, and then I just cut just shy of 5 inches. Okay. So here's my little piece of wire. Okay, then you're going to take and you're going to mark. You're going to make sure that your large piece is on top, okay? So when you, large piece on top, you can even turn it this way to make sure that you're working on the large piece, okay? Then you're going to lay your ruler down and you're going to mark 2 inches and 7 inches, okay? So I got a 2-inch mark and a 7-inch mark. That gives me 2 inches on either side with a 5-inch gap for my wire. Now you're going to want to reach in here, and you're going to, between your front piece and your pouch piece or your back piece, you're going to sandwich your wire in there. You want to make sure that you have these 2 flaps that are the same fabric left. You don't want to put it between those. You want to put it right in here, because then that adds a little bit of additional padding for the nose area. So go ahead and slip your wire in here. And if you keep it straight, it should fit in pretty easily. So there's mine in there. Okay. Then I'm going to pin this into place. You're going to want to make sure when you pin it that you are inside your little markings. Okay. And then you're going to pin this way. Okay, so now my pins are holding my wire in place. Here's my marking here, here's my marking here. And you can kind of wiggle it around if it's out of the marks. But this just allows me to know where I'm going to start my stitching and where I'm going to stop my stitching, okay? When I do my start stitching, you can either do a straight edge stitch and then zigzag across, or you can do, I have a special stay stitch on my sewing machine, and it is right here. It is that stitch right there. That is my stay stitch. So I'm going to start with this stitch, and then I'm going to switch over to my zigzag. When I do my zigzag, I'm going to turn my zigzag up to the highest level so that I can make a nice wide stitch, and then I turn it down a little bit to keep my stitches close together, but not horribly close, but close enough to hold my wire in place. So let's go ahead and stitch. Start at your little mark, do your stay stitch, and go back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. Okay, then go to zigzag, and zigzag across your wire. Once you get down to the other marking, that's when you're going to want to stop and do a stay stitch again. If you're doing a straight stitch, I'd straight stitch at the beginning, straight stitch at the end, put your wire in, and then do a zigzag across. Okay, this is where we're at now. Okay, got my wires in there. It's nice and held by my zigzag. Now you're going to want to clip your corners. So you're going to take your scissors. You don't want to clip where you have stitched. You want to clip a little bit above that. You're just trying to remove the bulk for when we turn it inside out. So do you see that? Nice little gap there that you can turn and not have the bulk there, okay? So clip all 4 corners. Okay, then we're going to take our little pouch and we're going to flip it inside out, or right side out. Okay, and just pull on your elastics so you can kind of stretch it all out like that. So here's my fabric, here's my pouch, got my smaller one on bottom, larger one on top. The larger one on top is important because then it will hold your filter in place. Because it's larger, it will hold it in place, and then this will then secure that against the larger one. If you get it flip-flopped, it doesn't matter. I've got one here that's flip-flopped. It doesn't matter. I prefer to have the larger one on the inside just because it gives it more area for it to cover the filter. Now I like to press my seams, so let's go ahead and press our seams so that we have a nice flat edge to work with. And I just kind of twist the fabric in between my fingers to kind of work the fabric out of the seam. Pull on your elastics if you need to kind of pull those corners out. Twist, twist, twist. And press. I like to get it nice and hot. And you see me licking my fingers. You see me licking my fingers, but this hot kills the bacteria. And I also Lysol them as I send them to people. So here's my nice flat edge. Okay, so now let's go over to do the pleats. The pleats are kind of tricky, but once you figure it out, you'll just be able to cruise on these. Okay, so I like to have this is my wire, this is my top. I like to have that closest to my body because I do the pleats going down. So you want the pleats to go down. The reason why you want the pleats to go down, according to what I have read, is that when the pleats are down, it then forces your air back onto your body and into your clothing. That further just allows your germs not to be exposed to other people if there is a gap for air. And if you notice when you get them from the doctors, that's how they're pleated as well, as they're pleated down. When you pleat them up, then it comes up and out like that. That's what I've read. So here we are. I'm going to flip it and have it upside down, down towards top towards me. Okay, there's my bottom, there's my top. I'm going to feel for my little pouch opening right there, okay? And I'm going to start my pleat, my middle pleat, just above that, okay? And I'm going to pleat it, and I'm going to finger press it, and then pin them in place. These pleats should be about 1/4 of an inch stacked like that. So see 1/4 of an inch from here to here, stacked, zigzag stacked, like a Z. Then I take my top piece and I'm going to pleat the middle of this. And it almost just kind of naturally folds in on itself, just naturally, like that. The most important thing when you're doing this is to make sure that you're not getting your pleat up by the elastic. You want to have a little bit of clearance between your elastic and your pleat, okay? Then I go over to the other top side and pleat it. And I just eyeball it. I make sure that between this spot and the pleat is equal from this spot to this spot on both sides. And then I pull. If I pull and I can see a good pleat, then I know that it is pretty even. Then I do the same for my bottom pleat. Take it in the middle and just kind of fold it. And you'll see there's a natural place where it just wants to fold because of the pocket pouch. And then I pinch it and just pin it. And again, I've got a little gap between where my elastic starts and where my pleat starts, okay? And I go over to the other side and do the same thing. And then I pull it, make sure I've got a good pleat going on there, and pin it. Now the distance between here and here is about 2.5 inches, okay? So when I measure it, it's about 2.5 exactly inches. That is important because it's going to be from this spot to this spot, and you don't want it wider because if it's wider, then you're going to have a gap here or a gap up here, okay? It needs to be about 2.5 inches. That's the distance about between here and here, okay? When you put them on, you can see, this isn't my N95, you can see the 2.5 inch right here to right here, okay? 2.5 inches. So once we get it to this point, we're going to take it to our sewing machine, and again, I start at the top where my wire is so that I know to be super careful when I'm sewing across here, and I do 1/4 inch all the way around, and I sew 2 times around. The reason why I do that is to reinforce them. If you're doing it at home for yourself, you probably don't need to reinforce it, but I know that the ones that I have made are going to be used multiple times, washed multiple times, and I want to make sure that they're really secure for people. So now we're going to go back to our machine, and we're going to go ahead and stitch all the way around. 1/4 inch. Start in your corner, back stitch, hold your threads. Holding your threads makes it so that it doesn't bunch up and make like a mess on the underside. So just kind of pinch your threads, do a back stitch, and then work your way around. When you get to your pleats, stop just on the inside of where your seam is, where your folded fabric on the inside is. You'll feel it. It's a little bit bulkier. It's a little bit bulkier than it is where there's single layers. So just stop just shy on the inside of that and stitch right in there, and just feel with your fingers. You'll feel it, okay? And your foot kind of goes into a divot. And then I slowly just stitch right there, because again, I'm really bad at taking my needles out. And then you can take these out and turn it. And when you turn it, then you're able to fan out your pleat so that you can then do your bottom one without hitting any of your pleats. Again, I'm at my little spot. Go ahead and go slowly. I know I probably have sewers that are shaking their fingers at me. Don't sew across your needles, but I'm lazy, okay? So now I'm going to go a second time around. When I get to the bottom on these ones, I make a cute little double stitch. I just think it looks kind of cute on the bottom. Hold my threads so that I know where my end threads are. Back stitch at the end, pull it out, and then cut your threads off. And there you go. You've got a N95 replacement mask that has a little pocket that you can put your filter in, paper towels, coffee filters, a Pleat filter. I think it's the 2200 or something like that, that has the highest filtration. It even says that it filters viruses and everything. You can take that little fanned stuff that's inside and unfold it and cut it out. If you're going to use another manufacturer, remember to contact them and see if they use fiberglass. You don't want to be sucking in fiberglass fibers. But this just makes it to where you can replace those filters as needed. Again, coffee cup, coffee filters, or even a paper towel, fold it up, put in there. And then you put it on, fold it down, and you're good to go. Okay. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact me. I'll be happy to help. And take care. Stay healthy.